Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Tim. We talk about horror movies on this show. And it, of course, is October. It is the month of Halloween, which means we're doing a lot of extras. We're doing some classics, we're doing some not so classics, lots of things. So this is going to be actually another heavy hitter. This is one where we looked at the month and we said we need to hit some big films that we've not got to yet. And this is going to be another one where we're going to do the sequels over the next several months. About a year of months, typically known as a year. So we're gonna, by the way, I'm tired, ironically, given the movie we're doing. You're getting loopy Peter tonight,
and actually I'm pretty tired as well. I got up like at 5 this morning for work, and I think I went to bed at like at least 12, so
yeah,
neither one of us is wide awake at the moment.
So amusingly, we're going to have to pretend that if we fall asleep, we're going to get killed, because we're going to talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street, which is, of course, the classic Wes Craven film. May he rest in peace. How many good horror directors have we lost already? The last couple of years has been brutal.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Two of the greats this year was Wes Craven. I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was 2015.
But yeah, I don't know, something about it, and they're all relatively like young people. Like, it's not like they're in their 90s or something.
Yeah,
mostly in their like 60s or so.
Yeah, I think Craven was about 73 when he was just still young-ish.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. I think it was a brain tumor he had. That did him in, if I remember correctly. It's been a while, obviously, since it was the news. But yeah, so we're going to talk about this. Again, it's amazing that we didn't get to this already. We said a few weeks ago when we did Friday the 13th, and we're going to work through that franchise, that we're doing another franchise that we're going to start in October. And it was probably quite obvious what it was going to be, and this was the obvious pick. Mainly because if we're doing both franchises, we kind of want to have them both done, so that when we get to Freddy vs. Jason, we'll have done the whole series of each. So
makes sense.
There's a master plan here. So Friday the 13th will be monthly. This will be almost monthly, and I say that because there's less of these than there is Friday the 13th. So they have to last the same amount of time until we get to that movie. So that's the plan. We will, you know what? Full spoilers. I'm not going to give you the spoiler-free section. I feel like, what's the point? It's Nightmare on Elm Street. If you're a horror fan and you've not seen this, just go watch it. It's fine. It's a classic. You're going to have fun. Just go do it. So yeah, what is Nightmare on Elm Street? Nightmare on Elm Street is a film about a group of teenagers who start having these nightmares, and in these nightmares there is a villain, a killer by the name of Freddy Krueger, who wears a red and green. See, I'm tired. I told you I was tired. A red and green sweater, to use your people's terminology.
What would you call it?
A jumper. A red and green jumper.
That doesn't make sense. You don't need a shirt to jump.
You don't need one to sweat either.
Depending on the situation. If you wear a sweater in the summer, you are going to sweat, that's for sure.
I sweat in the summer without any clothes on, thank you very much.
Alright, stop bragging.
He's got a hat on, he's all burned, and of course the signature weapon is the glove with the 4 blades, which, knives for fingers kind of idea. So, iconic villain, and he's inside the dreams, but here's the catch. If he kills you in the dream, you die in real life. So the film, after a couple of kills, it's about the main character, Nancy, trying to survive, try to stay awake, and figure out what the rules are so she can, not be killed by Freddy Krueger. And of course, there's a backstory that comes into it we'll talk about as to who he is. But that's the movie. Obviously, we've seen it before, and this feels like a stupid question to ask, but I always ask the question, so I'm going to ask it anyway. Tim, do you enjoy A Nightmare on Elm Street?
So if you remember when we started the Friday the 13th review, I mentioned that I wasn't really a Friday guy growing up. I was a Nightmare guy. Like, this is my franchise. I absolutely love A Nightmare on Elm Street. It is just phenomenal. to me. This first one I love. I think is a genuinely really good, effective, creepy horror movie. I feel like sometimes people forget that because he becomes so much of a joke, pop culture icon kind of thing, by the end of the series. But this first one, I think, still holds up as a really good, not very funny, just effective, creepy horror movie. And I love the idea, I love the premise. Robert Englund really makes a iconic horror villain, and it's just so good. Yes, I'm a fan.
I'm still not sure, Tim. How do you feel about it? Tell us. I'm still a little bit hazy. I'm in the middle. Yes, I too enjoy Nightmare on Elm Street. It's a very good film. I don't know if I have quite the passion that Tim just displayed there, but it is very good. It's remembered for a reason. It's very effective. And what does it have, Tim? What is it? It's a slasher movie, but it's a supernatural slasher movie. What does it have that makes any supernatural movie good, Tim?
Teenagers running for their lives, a really cool, iconic villain with really great kills and gore.
You're not getting to it, Tim. You're not getting to it. You're not hitting the word that I want you to say. Say it. Say it.
The goat?
What? Well, are you just seeing goats in movies that you're like, oh, this movie needs more goats? I'm just going to imagine a goat.
There's a lamb thing that runs through the boiler room or whatever, but I figure it's close enough.
You're the goat fan. It's up to you if it's close enough. Can you masturbate to it? If the answer is yes, then you've got your goat fix.
Oh wait, that's what makes a good slasher?
No, we tangented because you brought up goats because you can't resist. No, what makes a good supernatural movie, Tim?
Oh, there are rules.
There's rules. I love rules. Rules are the best. Rules are fantastic. Because obviously when they're in the dream world, there's not a lot of rules in there because it's a dream and he controls it and he's doing all these wacky things. There's great imagery and all that, but there's rules. If they wake up, they're safe.
Yeah.
And then as the movie goes on, there's more rules established. Like if they, she grabs the hat at one point and she wakes up and she has the hat in the real world. There's rules. There's a set of rules. It's fantastic. I love a good set of rules.
Yeah, it's really cool. And what's actually funny about it, I don't know if you got this growing up, but for a really long time, me and my friends, or I don't know, maybe it was just me, but I kind of took that as a fact that if you died in your dreams, you died in real life. I don't know if it was just me, but I feel like the movie kind of instilled that in a lot of people's heads.
It's not just you. I'm sure there's a mental hospital somewhere full of people who believe this. In fact, that's the premise of part 3. We'll get there at some point. But no, I did not believe that if I died in a dream, I would die in real life when I was younger.
I don't know. I always thought it just seemed like, I don't know, one of those things that you hear, and when you hear it, you kind of think well, now that you mention it, I don't think I ever have died in a dream. I'll fall off a cliff, but I always die before I hit the ground or something, I don't know. It's one of those things that made sense to me. But I think that is something, though, that's so powerful about the film that it really has ingrained itself into pop culture in many different ways.
I can think of one time where I died in a nightmare.
Really?
I don't remember a lot of my dreams.
Are you sure it wasn't my dream?
Very good, Tim. Very good. Yeah. No, I've never had a fear of this particular thing, but for some reason I had the dream once. I was on a highway, and all the cars had stopped, and I got out of the car, and I was just watching over. There was a city in the distance, and a nuclear bomb went off, and I just the vision of the wave coming towards me.
Yeah. Interesting.
And I died.
And then, did you wake up and just have the best sense of relief that you've ever had?
I had the strangest erection I'd ever had. I'll tell you that.
Oh my!
No, I didn't wake up immediately. I just woke up later on.
Oh, okay.
And I was like,
oh, okay.
And I remember I was like, oh, that was a weird dream.
Because I know there have been times where I've had dreams where I feel like I'd be close to dying, something was chasing me and they'd almost get me, and then I'd wake up and then that 2-second time span when I wake up and realize, oh, okay, that all that danger, all that fear, all that dread, that was all in the dream, and I'm safe now. It's just like the most calming sense that just washes over you. I love it. That's why I kind of like nightmares.
I don't get a lot of them. Honestly, there's only one real nightmare I've ever had, and I don't even know what it was. But it's the only, and the reason why I say it's the one real nightmare I've ever had is because I only once in my life, I think I was about 11, where I actually did that thing that you see in movies where you wake up and sit up in a cold sweat.
Oh yeah.
And you're kind of out of breath and you're panicking. I've only ever done that once. I don't know what the dream was. I don't remember it, but
I don't do that often. There've been a few times where I will do that, or even like to the point where I'll be screaming in my sleep. Like I'll wake up and I'll still be screaming. Not very often, but a few times in my life that has happened.
yeah. So it's only happened once to me. It's just straight. I don't know. I'm just not. I feel like I think I'm just really an aware dreamer. Like I'm usually aware that I'm dreaming, I guess. So I don't really take it that seriously. Yeah,
that makes sense. A lot of people I talk to like barely even remember their dreams. I don't know. I might just have more. I don't know. Maybe a better dream memory or a lot of, more vivid sense of it or something. Because a lot of times I'll talk to people and they'll be like, "How do you even remember your dreams?" I never. I don't know.
I feel like most of the time I'll remember it for the first few minutes after waking up, but then I'll, if you ask me later on, I'll be like, I have no idea what I dreamt last night. It's fine.
Oh yeah, that happened to me a lot. I'll wake up and I'll be like, I just got the best idea for a movie or a comic book or something. No need to write it down. It's so good. There's no way I could forget it. And yeah, an hour later, you're like, fuck.
Exactly. So yeah, so movie. Obviously, there's a lot of classic moments. So you've got creepy direction from Craven. You mentioned Robert Englund. You have to talk about Freddy Krueger. He's got such an iconic look. Like, I don't know how they decided on the sweater. Like, you know.
Oh, I know.
Oh, do you? How did they pick the red and the green? Go on.
Because Robert, I forget.
Yeah, he liked red and green, and he said, "Hey Wes, I've got this idea. No. It's hip, it's happening, it's cool. The kids will love it."
No, actually, the reason for it is because there's something about those two colors together that is like off. Like they're colors that contrast, so like them together is very off-putting to the eye. So there's like a little kind of psychology thing when you look at it, where it's like, "Ooh, those shouldn't be together." Like something along those lines. He explains it better than me, but that's the gist of it.
See, I think red and green, and I think Christmas, but which is a very opposite effect. Yeah. It's more soothing. I'm like, oh, Christmas.
I think it may be something about those bright shades and like the vertical, horizontal lines. I don't know, together or something. But there is a science behind it. So look it up and see someone smarter explain it.
Look up and find someone else smarter to explain it. What an idea. No, he's good in this. It's actually surprising watching it again just how little he talks in the first one.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm so used to him cracking one-liners and stuff that in the first one, you know, he has the odd line, but he doesn't say a whole lot.
Yeah, and they're not really like funny stuff. They're like actually more like kind of weird cryptic stuff, like just him going like, "This is God," and like stuff like that is like, oh wow, okay.
That's the first thing he says, I think. Actually, it's when he grabs Tina at the start, in her dream. This is God, when he's got the big long arms.
I freaking love that scene. Like, it's so. I think some people think it's kind of cheap or cheesy, but to me, I think it's so simple and so like, yeah, you can see it as kind of silly, but at the same time, if I was, in an alleyway and someone started running to me like that, I'd be terrified. Like, it's not normal, and it's just that kind of weirdness. Hey, this person shouldn't be doing this. That I think is actually like pretty effectively creepy.
It's actually a very set piece movie. As I was watching it this time, I was kind of realizing like it's kind of made up of moments. Like you remember the bath moment when Nancy's in the bath and the glove comes up between the legs through the water. You remember that moment. You remember her, like, the school dream where she falls asleep in class and she sees the Tina's body being dragged through the halls.
Where's your hall pass?
Screw your hall pass. Oh dear. Yeah, it's a funny thing actually. I just noticed this time watching it that John Saxon plays her dad. He's also like the lieutenant of police. John Saxon's great. I love John Saxon. But his deputy in this is actually the sheriff from Scream, which is just a funny little tidbit.
Oh, I didn't put that together.
Yeah, I just recognise it because he looks pretty similar, even though it's like 20 years. No, it's not even 20 years apart. It's like 12 years. Because it's only Scream was like 96, so yeah, it's like 12 years. But yeah, he looks pretty similar still. So I was like, oh, that's him from Scream. Fancy that. And how weird is it that both Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, these two franchises that are kind of just eternally sort of thought of as a pair now, because they've got a versus movie, people always kind of think of them side by side. How strange is it that both of them, their first movies, introduced someone who would later be like a big actor? Like, you had Kevin Bacon in Friday the 13th, and then in this one, it actually comes up at the start saying introducing Johnny Depp. And it's the only movie that ever gets to say that. Because he was never, he never had another first movie, so that's it.
Yeah, that's weird. I guess, I didn't really think about them both like that, but yeah, it's funny that they both kind of launched these stars' careers.
Yeah, and
it's kind of annoying. It's like I don't know. It seems like all Johnny Depp ever wants to talk about is, I don't know, his dumb pirate thing that he's doing or whatever. It's like, why don't you talk about, Nightmare on Elm Street more?
Johnny Depp just likes to put on white face paint and have crazy hair and then be ordered around by Tim Burton, and that's basically half of his career.
I wonder if he was mad that he didn't get to play Freddy.
Honestly, I think if they're going to reboot it again, I think he'd want to. He'd be like, "Hey, I'll do this method style. I want to be Freddy Krueger."
I actually did read a sad article today. It wasn't new. I think someone was just reposting it or giving like an update or something, but just about how Robert Englund said that he's never going to play Freddy again. And I was like, oh man, that is a bummer, because I'd love to see another Nightmare movie. I doubt it would be good, and I doubt they'd be able to find someone as good as Robert Englund. But
this is the sad thing, is that he's the one slasher villain that really you need the actor for. Like, Michael and Jason and Leatherface, like you can have a different person playing them in every movie, and for the most part it is. Jason's the one that's had a few repeats, but Kane Hodder, of course, done it like 4 times, but like, you need Robert Englund, really. And I've not actually seen the remake. Obviously we'll get there in about 9-10 months, and I'll get to watch it, and you can get my reactions to it, lovely audience, as a fresh take. But no, so he's obviously very good. I like Heather Langenkamp, who plays Nancy, our main character.
Very likable.
Her and all of her hair, all 4 metric tons of it. Big hair, big hair.
Yeah,
it's the 80s. I don't know. This big frizzy style was in. But she's very likable. I think what I really like is, and this kind of goes with the rules, is she becomes very proactive. She sort of figures out what's going on. And then once she has that one nightmare where she pulls the hat into the real world, and she realizes, if I can pull him into the world, he can be fought. And
it's weird how much, like, I always forget, like, the end basically becomes like the sick version of Home Alone.
Because you see her reading that book like halfway through. She's reading like traps and home defense, and then at the end of the movie she's like putting like gunpowder in the lamp with like a tripwire, and
it's really cool. Like, I like you said, she's proactive. I like that she's very smart and capable and taking the fight to him. I just feel like I kind of always forget about it because there's so much like cool stuff before it, like the the hand in the bathtub, the body bag, and the of course like the bedroom scene, with the both Johnny Depp's death and Tina's death are very iconic.
Yeah, Johnny Depp, they had to build a set upside down for that because they wanted to have the blood going up the way, so they had to build the set upside down and just turn the camera so that it looked like it was the right way up. Simple as that. Same with Tina Scene, actually, because that's upside down and she's been dragged across the floor essentially, but it looks like the roof or the ceiling.
It looks so good though.
Yeah, there's lots of good little effects. There's the when Nancy's it's in the dream, she's running up the stairs and her feet are going through the stairs.
Oh yeah,
that's a really good little effect. It looks really cool. All these little practical things.
Yeah, just
happening.
Yeah, when just like Freddy kind of when he's putting his face through the wall, that's really cool. And again, this is the 800th time that I'm gonna do this rant, but it's insane to me that this looks so good and will always look so amazing, and then yet we feel the need to have everything be CGI and computers, and
it's easier to shoot, Tim. That's the truth. Cuts down shooting time because you don't have to have them setting up their practical effect all day, and then you spend all day on the one shot, and it'll look great, but it took a whole day of filming where you put up some green, paint the wall green, and you can just shoot the whole thing and then have them put it in later on a computer.
I get it, but I'll never be happy about it.
To be fair, I think him going through up against the wall, that scene looks great. I think that's also something that can look very good in CG. I don't feel like that's one that would stick out to me as looking like shit in CG.
Yeah.
There's other things where, like, unless it's the best CG, it is going to look pitiful. But no, I think it's great in that sense.
And unfortunately, the kind of sad realization is that horror movies often don't have the biggest budget, so you're not looking at like Lord of the Rings style effects or whatever. I
don't mean to pick apart your argument, Tim, but I actually think that's a really bad example. I think Lord of the Rings has pretty rough of CGI.
I think it's been a while since I saw it, but when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's the example I always think of, just because they have those gigantic battles with like
Honestly,
million.
Tim, I think you'll be surprised when you go back and watch them again. Those gigantic battles, just how much like a video game cutscene they look like.
Really?
Yeah, at least to my eyes. Like I was never particularly fond. I don't like those movies anyway, so I mean, I'm kind of harsh as it is, but
I enjoy them. But it has definitely been a while since I've seen them.
Yeah, but the fact that even big budget movies like the Justice League trailer that came out recently, like the action scenes in that look pretty rough, and in terms of effects, like it just looks like against a CG cloud, and it looks pretty bad. And but then you watch other stuff. You watch, I mean, you watch Dawn or War for the Planet of the Apes, and you've got these lifelike apes that look photoreal. They're fantastic. It's like, so, there's a skill, still a skill to it.
Oh, sure.
It's still talent behind it that makes it work and makes it good. Some of it is time and money, but I think there's a core set of, like, just, you need people who know what they're doing to actually pull it off. And that was kind of the same for practical effects. It just, as a lost art, I wish it was more of a mix. I wish they used practical when they could, but then they would switch to, or actually the best thing, use practical, but then enhance it with CG. Do the little extra things that you couldn't have done in the past.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, like when you see movies doing that, it usually ends up looking really, really nice.
Yeah. Like, Mad Max Fury Road. Like they did that as much practical. I mean, I'm sure there's stuff they added in with CG, and I'm sure there's stuff where that's just too dangerous to dangle the actor there. We're going to CG that. But for the most part, they did what they could, and then they enhanced it, and it's cool. So the effects are great. It's one of the highlights watching it again is just how many inventive little moments there are with the the tongue out the phone, for example, and just all these things. So very, very good. Here's what's good as well, actually, the music.
Yes.
Do you know? I was really thinking, because obviously we talked about Phantasm, and did I go on a rant about horror movie music today when we talked about Phantasm? I don't think I did. I think I was thinking about it afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely talked about the music in Phantasm, but I don't think we expanded upon it.
Yeah, I never went on a rant about how horror movie music mostly sucks nowadays. Okay, good. I can go on that rant now. Right. So, no, I'm not saying every horror movie needs this, but I actually had a conversation with Connor. We were talking about Thor in 121 in Flux. It's up early for the patrons. It'll be up in public YouTube next week. And first of all, that review went off the rails. We spent about 25 minutes talking about Thor, and then we spent an hour talking about the MCU and why we're not that excited about it anymore. It was a very weird discussion. I know, Tim. I know you love the MCU. You know that's weird to you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
But I went on a rant about the music in that as well, because superhero movies are kind of in the same boat, actually, funnily enough, with horror movies in this sense, is that there's not really that many memorable like horror movie themes anymore. Like It Follows is the only one I can think of in my head with like a main theme that I liked, and I can sort of I can hear it in my head as I'm talking. you think back to like the 70s and 80s, you think Halloween, you've got that theme in your head. You think Friday the 13th, you've got you think of this, you've got dun 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 dun, dun. Or you've got the nursery rhyme. You've got the 1 2 Freddy's coming for you. Exorcist, you've got Tubular Bells, which is a little bit cheating because it's it's not, they didn't write it for the movie, but still.
Yeah, still very iconic. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got all these famous pieces. You've got all these things, and they're all so iconic sounding. And like, I feel like these days it's just all this generic, loud bang bang, strings are going.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all it is. And I think it's a lost art form where they really gave them a creepy theme and they let it work. And Phantasm, of course, the other big example. We talked about that a lot when we talked about the movie. So,
yeah, that's a shame that you don't really see much signature stuff anymore. Like, it's not necessarily that the scores in like modern horror movies are always bad, like, but it's just they're not very memorable. Like, yeah, it would be nice to see someone.
You are tired, Tim. Rememberable.
But no, it would be nice to see someone try to actually make something iconic. But I mean, do we even have that many iconic? Well, I guess like unfortunately, Jigsaw is the closest thing we have to like a new iconic horror villain or whatever.
I don't think you need a horror villain to attach it to. Like, I don't see why. Like, I love Insidious, but I don't see why Insidious couldn't have had a theme.
True.
You can have a theme in a movie like that. It's just odd to me that like it almost never happens anymore. Like, everything's kind of, just kind of, well, maybe good, but not just by the numbers kind of vibe. Yeah. It's just a shame.
And now what I was thinking about in terms of the music for this movie is this the only really iconic like Wes Craven movie that has an iconic score? Like, I can't really think of like Hills Have Eyes or even like Scream or anything having its own kind of
I know
thing.
What the Scream soundtrack sounds like if I can hear the kind of,
isn't it like a lot of like 90s music, kind of like more like actual like songs, not like
the source music in it, but I'm just purely talking about the score, the actual written score. I can hear the theme that plays in those movies. I couldn't hum it though. It's not a hummable thing, but there is a kind of theme in there. But yeah, like, is there any other ones? I don't think so. Like,
I mean, who can forget the score from Shocker? I mean, that was
oh dear. This is the thing. John Carpenter's got it spoiled because almost all of his movies have a really good main theme that you can hum.
And it probably helps that he's doing it, which he's going on tour. He might have already started.
That's not all he's doing, Tim. Do you hear what he's doing?
The music for a new Halloween?
Yeah, he's doing the new movie.
That's gonna be so awesome. I think if the new Halloween ends up sucking, we should probably stop doing the show because what else is there to look forward to?
That's not entirely true.
I mean, if they announce a new Leprechaun movie, then we can stay on. But
if they announce a new Leprechaun movie, we are done. We are done. We are out. Because if they announce a new Leprechaun movie, that means we finally have to do the rest of them, and I'm not happy about that. So, no. Yeah. So, Nightmare on Elm Street. What else do you like about it, Tim?
I mean, I think kind of mentioned it a little bit with Phantasm, but I just really like surreal, dreamy atmospheres, which. To be fair, I think unlike Phantasm, which I think kind of had like almost like a waking, weird, dreamy kind of feel to it. This one, I feel like it is more, a separation between dreams and real life. But I do still like that, there's a weird dreamlike quality to it. And, I mentioned before when we've talked about slashers a bunch that I'm usually not as into them, but when I do get into them, it's usually because there's like a really cool, interesting villain, as the focal point. And, I think that Freddy, you just have such an awesome conduit to pretty much do like whatever you want. Like any type of kill, like if you can think of it and it's filmable, like you can do it. He's not limited to just chasing people around with a drill. It's like, oh, where's he gonna drill him this time?
Whoa,
It's like,
what is this slander against Slumber Party Massacre? Whoa, that wasn't even stealthy. Try and disguise it a little bit, Tim.
But no, it's cool that there's like so many different things that you can do with it, and yeah, like we said, the kills that he ends up doing with Tina dragging her across the room, and then well, I mean, if anything, the first one maybe suffers a little bit for maybe not being creative enough. I mean, it's probably because first one, it's unknown property and everything. As the series goes on, they get really crazier and wackier, and sometimes for the better, maybe sometimes for the worse. But yeah, the kills are one of the things that really does it for me.
I like how dark Freddy's backstory is. Like when you get
sure.
down to it, what the movie actually is that the parents of this town, which name I can't remember.
Oh shit!
It's Elm Street, but what's the town?
Yeah.
What's the town? Oh, God, I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Something.
So the parents all basically got together and took it upon themselves, a bit of mob justice, to kill Freddy Krueger because he got off charges despite the fact that he is a child killer. Although I think the later movies kind of imply he's also a child molester. The first one doesn't actually specify that. It just says killer.
Yeah, I feel like people always kind of just assume it's like, well, like, I don't know. I guess it's kind of weird that he would just kill children. Like, surely that must
that's
be
weird.
Like something else.
What's the point of killing a kid if you're not going to do something to them first? Like, where's that logic coming from?
But yeah, like it never really explicitly says. I think people just kind of assume like, I mean, if he's killing them, what else is he doing with them?
I'm sure the later movies do. I'm sure there's a later movie that mentions it. They just call him a child molester. If nothing else, I'm convinced Freddy vs. Jason there's a line where someone calls him a child molester.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that could be possible. The only other thing I'm thinking of is in the last proper Freddy movie, when they have like flashbacks to him and his daughter, it does definitely show him being like pretty creepy towards her. Never in a like, oh, this is definitely what he's doing kind of way, but definitely in a this is weird kind of way.
Yes,
but
I was here the whole time. Yes, go on.
But yeah, it does. I like you said, it is nice that he is there's like not really an ounce of sympathy for him. Like it sounds like Jason. On the one hand, you're kind of like, you know what?
It's tragic. Yeah, he drowned.
Yeah.
He's kind of a victim.
Yeah, like this guy, it's like, wow, what a piece of shit, and he's still like killing people even after he's dead.
Yeah, it's basically it's a revenge story almost. He's coming back to kill all the kids of all the parents who killed him.
And you mentioned that the mother like explains the backstory and stuff. I love that monologue. I thought the mother gives like a great performance, and that's like what does she say, like, oh sure, like the lawyers got fat and the judge got famous, but someone forgot to sign in the wrong place on the search warrant and he got free. Like, it's just such a like cool, like,
I like the ending of
let me
it.
sit back.
It's just, Freddy can't get you, honey, because Mummy killed him.
Yeah. And is keeping his most prized weapon.
Yeah, how did she get the glove? Everyone else, where's their souvenirs? Oh dear. So I like that. I like. Yeah, obviously I mentioned I like John Saxon. I like his kind of role in the movie where he's kind of like he's clearly separated from his wife. Right? He doesn't live with them anymore. Even though the movie never actually says outright that they've separated, you just kind of get it because he's never there, and
yeah,
the way they talk to each other, you just kind of get the context.
There's like definitely something going on in the background. Like he's kind of absent, and then the mother has like a severe drinking problem. She's just like always like, in her robe with a bottle in her hand, and you can just tell that. I mean, obviously, probably because of what they did. I mean, even if you hunt down and kill someone that arguably deserves it or whatever, it's still gonna mess you up.
I think
pretty
a
good.
child serial killer, possibly molester, is fairly deserving on the list. Like in terms of the rank, he's quite high up.
I don't know. I feel weird saying like anyone deserves to die.
Oh
ever,
sure,
but,
like yeah, I'm not. I'm just in movie logic, right?
right. Yeah.
A child
Sure.
molester, serial killer, like yeah, like if there's one person where I'm going to be, like, you know what, I don't mind if Batman just breaks his rule for this guy. It'll be
Sure.
like it's going to
Yeah.
be someone like this.
Ooh, Batman versus Freddy. Who wouldn't want to see that?
How does Batman prepare when it's all in a dream? That's an idea.
Because Batman.
Goddamn right, Tim. Goddamn right, because Batman. So and
That's for Matt if he watches this.
he's not going to watch this. So
Oh, he'll watch it.
so here's a scene that I love. So basically, when she's got her plan
Mhm.
all ready to go, and she phones her dad, who's across because her boyfriend Johnny Depp, he's just been killed. The bed with the blood, all that great stuff. But he's just been killed. So her dad's over there like dealing with the crime scene, and she calls over, and she's like, "Right, I found a way to get him, Dad, but you need to come over and wake me in 20 minutes, just enough time for me to get to sleep." And then we can get him. You can arrest him, Dad. You can get Freddy. And he just kind of goes along with it. He's like, okay, right, fine. Go get some rest. You need some rest. Because at this point, she's been awake for nearly 7 days. Which, by the way, I love when she's supposed to be going to sleep and she gets back out of bed after her mother leaves and she's got like a coffee pot like hidden under the bed.
Yeah.
And she's got like a mug under the pillow. She's like, oh, she's prepared. Time to stay awake. But no, I love that after she grabs Freddy out of the dream and he's chasing her around the house and we get the kind of almost Home Alone. He's on fire. He's doing all these things.
Yeah.
But she goes up to the window and she's banging for the cops across because they're all across the street. They're right there, and it's
Yeah.
the deputy. I think it's the guy from Scream who like sees her and she's like, come on, get my dad. And she's banging against the window and she's just making so much noise, and he's just kind of watching and go, huh, what's going on? This is strange. And then she eventually starts smashing the windows so she can shout proper and like through the glass and all that.
I forgot to mention Windows have bars on it
They
because
do,
her
yeah.
mother was so worried, like, how to protect my child.
But so it's right after she smashes the glass and starts to keep shouting that it cuts back to the deputy looking over and he goes, maybe I should get her father. He doesn't think for a second, oh, she's clearly in distress, I should run over there and help. Not even as a cop, just as, a person.
Yeah.
She's in distress, clearly.
It's pretty bizarre, but it's that movie logic. You kind of just go, all right, whatever.
Another small moment I want to point out that I love is when Johnny Depp, he's staying over with the girls at the start of the movie because Tina's a little upset because her mum's away and she's been having these nightmares, and he's claiming to be living with his cousin who lives at the airport or next by the airport, and he puts on this tape of like airplane noises to make it sound like he's there.
Yeah.
And then but it's a sound effects tape and it starts like having car crashes and then like gunshots, and he's like, I'll phone the police, mom, it's fine. I like that scene.
Yeah, that's another thing. I forget a lot of times when I rewatch it is that there's a lot of nice little character moments that are, like funny, just cute, endearing kind of stuff that, these characters all very likable, all have, I think like pretty like distinct personalities, like they're characters you remember, and then I think that's part of part of what sells it as well, is just that, oh yeah, these aren't just random horny teenagers that we're gonna see killed. It's like, oh no, I'm actually like care about these people.
And I think part of the reason why the movie works as well is it really buys into the idea that like when you're a teenager, like it buys into that feeling that you have where you're kind of on your own, your parents aren't there for you anymore, and that's kind of what this movie plays with, is that the parents don't believe her, and most of the parents in the movie are actually kind of screwed up. Like Tina's mother is dating this asshole who kind of treats her like shit at the start of the movie. Nancy's mother has a drinking problem. Her dad seems okay, just kind of buried in his own job, although he does kind of use her as bait at one point, but she's not very happy about. And you see Johnny Depp's parents, like his dad's very controlling, and like because you kind of get a sense that they're kind of almost doomed by their parents. Literally in a sense, because they're the ones who all went and killed Freddy Krueger. But this idea that the children are doomed to pay for their parents' mistakes, like so, there's actually like a sort of almost a just a social message in there. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like you could apply it to almost, you could, you know, apply it to global warming and, like, you know, climate change. Like, you know, if we don't start, you know, doing things better for our future generations, you know, we're going to screw the place up for them. Like, that's just a really broad one, but like anything like that, where if you don't give your kid a chance, or you screw up their lives like that, they'll, you know, they'll be doomed.
Yeah. I feel like that's something you saw a lot too in like 80s movies, and just this kind of like sense of rebellion of, you know, the younger generation rebelling against like I guess it would have been like the baby boomers and stuff, and, you know, kind of being like, you know, screw you, like, oh, you know, like everyone's like so like self-involved and stuff, and you know.
Yeah. And in this case, it's this Generation X that are paying for all the baby boomers' mistakes, I guess, is what's happening. Which is probably why it's ripe for a remake, because us millennials, we need to stick it to the adults. Screw you guys. So I think that's there. I think that it gives it that weird thing, because, you know, especially if you watch it as a teenager for the first time, which I think a lot of us probably do, is, you know, maybe not at the time when it came out, because, you know, you're whatever age you were when it came out, but, you know, for us who grew, you know, were born after it already existed, you typically, you know, you get to it when you're younger, maybe, you know, probably your teens, maybe a little earlier, and you'll kind of relate to the characters in this weird way where your parents, like, if you tell them something that's not, they don't understand, they just disregard it. Oh, you're being silly, you're being this. Yeah. So it plays with that. Like, I think every single person knows what it's like to have their parent dismiss something. And this is, we're not even talking about bad parents, we're talking about the, you know, best parents in the world. But they just won't understand some of the stuff that you're going through. Partly because the world changes for every generation, and, like, there's just some things they don't get. But this plays with that idea, and I think that's why the characters, or Nancy especially, is so relatable, because, you know, as nice as her mother's trying to be, she just isn't quite accepting of what it is that's going on. So,
yeah.
Thank you.
No, you're right. Yeah, there's like a level of like frustration, especially when it's like, you know, it's like I'm having dreams about this person that you killed that there's no way in hell I should know about. Like, can't you take me a little more seriously? And then it's just like so dismissive. Be like, no, honey, no.
And yeah, she sees her bring the hat back. Where did you get that hat? Yeah. And, you know, she never really believes. Instead of helping her as she's setting up the house, she falls asleep drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, she kind of deserves what's coming, really. I mean, let's be honest.
Yes.
She brings it on herself in this case. But yes, so I guess we should talk about the ending, which honestly might be my one kind of criticism of the movie.
Okay.
Is that I think the ending's a little bit, like, I feel like because they wanted to have the final jump scare, they gave us an ending that didn't necessarily make a shit ton of sense.
No.
You know, especially since, you know, when you look forward to 3, which brings characters back, and we kind of like, oh well, technically that ending didn't really happen then. Like, this final moment is just kind of because you know, so Freddy's out in the real world, they set him on fire, they kill him, but then he sort of wakes back up anyway, and she turns around and says, oh, you've lost your power because I don't care anymore, I'm not scared of you, that's your power gone, which is a nice idea, it's great. And he fades away, but she basically says, I want this to all go back to before anyone died. And she just walks out the door, and she walks into broad daylight as if she's going to school in the morning, and her friends who have all died are all there to pick her up in the car, and her mother's there behind her, and her mother's like, oh, hey, on you go, have a nice day at school, honey, blah blah blah. And then the worst looking dummy in the planet gets pulled through the door.
I can't help but laugh seeing that.
Yeah, especially because you've got your medium shot of the mother standing next to the door, and then you see the hand come out and grab her, and then it cuts to a wider shot, and it's just this dummy going through the window.
I could be wrong, because I think if you want really good information on the series, you have to watch the documentary Never Sleep Again.
Yep, the full like 3.5, 4 hour thing that it is. Fantastic.
But I believe there was a point of contention between Wes Craven and Robert Shea on the ending here. I might be misremembering it, but I think that like a lot of this was Robert Shea, and that Wes Craven didn't want to do it. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on it, but I do believe...
It sounds familiar. I can't remember, but it does sound... Like, I watched this documentary a few years ago, but it does sound vaguely familiar hearing this. Because when you get to part 3, you know, she went through all this. Her friends all died. That did happen.
Yeah.
So this ending didn't really exist. You can really just read it as it's like a final little nightmare she has. Maybe it's like a nightmare she has remembering, like after she survived, she has this nightmare where she like sees her mother get killed. I guess
That's like the kind of headcanon that I kind of have to put up with to make the later movies make sense. Is that this just must be her nightmare or something, but then she ends up surviving.
Yeah, because obviously she's in the car and it's like the Freddy Krueger colors on the top of the car, and like she's screaming at the window. So this final scene isn't really real. It can't be. But hey, especially since like the whole thing where she says, "Oh, I don't fear you anymore, so you've lost your power." That carries forward into 3 when she comes back. Like that's how she's been okay since, and that's how they use that in Freddy vs Jason as a plot point. Like like he only has power if you fear him, kind of idea. So. No, so that'd be my one criticism. Is I think the ending is just kind of like, here's a little cheap little scene so we can have a couple of scares and bye bye. See you next year for Freddy's Revenge. But no, obviously it's a very good movie. We've talked a lot of fun moments, a lot of fun effects, likable characters, relatable characters, iconic villain, really good music, good solid direction.
Even have a little brief little special appearance by Lin Shaye.
You do have Lin Shaye, which is weird. I'm so used to her being like a 70-year-old plus woman that it's weird seeing her in like her mid-40s or whatever she is here.
Must be, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
She plays the school teacher, and I'm like, is this like a prequel? Is it like, is it Freddy Krueger actually from the further? And this is a prequel to Insidious, and this is how she learns about all this stuff, and she starts her path.
That's not a bad idea.
on this way.
Dear. Did you? I forget if we talked about this, but
in this movie, you've forgotten already?
No. When we did the It review, did we talk about how I forget if it was like the director or someone said that they were considering like trying to have like Freddy and Jason appear at some point in the movie to kind of like terrorize the kids?
I don't recall that, but I like that idea.
Because the book in the original It miniseries, there's points where like each kid gets scared by a different universal monster. Like so one of them gets scared by a mummy, the other Wolfman and stuff. So since this took place in the 80s and like the version of monsters then were like Freddy and Jason and stuff, the director kind of wanted to have them have cameos, but I guess it didn't work out. But it would have been really cool if they did.
What is odd about that though? I don't think if that didn't work out, it must be a choice thing because or like someone else said that wasn't a good idea and they fought him on it because it's made by New Line, which is Warner Brothers, which owns the rights to both Freddy and Jason, so it can't be like a legal issue, I don't think.
It seems weird, but
like fair enough. If you wanted maybe it's because they wanted like 4 or 5 and they couldn't get the other 2 or 3. Like, they wanted Leatherface and Michael and Pinhead or whatever, and they couldn't get them, or Chucky even. I don't know.
I still never played the last Mortal Kombat game that had like Freddy and Jason and stuff in it. I kind of want to get it just to try that.
Wait till it's very cheap. Get the XL version that has everything in it already because they were all DLC. The Predator was in one of them, I think.
Yeah, I think it's like Leatherface, Jason, I think Freddy as well, and then
they've both
Predator
been in
Alien.
It, but I don't know if they were both in the same game.
Oh, okay. Right.
They've both been bonus characters, but I don't know if they got them in the same game.
I don't know why they just don't do a. I mean, maybe it's hard wrangling all the licenses, but if they did like a horror fighting game, that'd be so cool.
Because again, Mortal Kombat's Warner Brothers, so that's why.
Oh, okay.
Freddy and Jason. I mean, to be fair, the Predator's a really good get because that's not Warner Brothers. Yeah. They had to go out their way to get that.
So. They got Leatherface too, which is
Lionsgate.
Lionsgate, yeah.
So I don't know. That's fun. Oh dear. Anything else you want to talk about before we get to ratings on Nightmare on Elm Street?
I mean, maybe we're forgetting something, but I feel like we covered pretty much like everything, or at least like the most memorable,
I mean,
iconic stuff.
I didn't go too detailed into the plot and, like, you know, when people wake up and then know some things. And it
Yeah.
does progress. I will actually, I suppose the last thing I'll say is the pacing is very good. Like, watching it
Yeah.
again, I felt like things were constantly moving forward and happening. I never felt like it was lulling in at any point. So, you know, credit for
Yeah.
that.
And yeah, again, just like I said at the beginning, it's really interesting when you go back and watch this and you see him as this very serious, very sinister character. And then I'm really excited as we get into like the later movies, because there's so many different kind of like versions of him that it's maybe not always for the best, but I think it is fun to kind of see his evolution as a character.
Hmm.
And it is very weird that he is a child killer, and yet by like the final movie he's like this big pop icon and people love him, and he in a way he's kind of, I don't know, I feel like you end up rooting for him like by the later movies.
Yeah, but to be fair, that's because the characters in those movies are so bad that you want them to die. So,
True.
a little bit different. A little bit different in that sense. Yeah, no. So there you go. That is Nightmare on Elm Street. So ratings, actually, yes. Tim, what would you rate Nightmare on Elm Street out of 10?
Well, again, I really, really, really love this movie. I can't overstate that enough, and I hope it's not gonna become a habit with me. But I gotta give this another 10 out of 10. I really, really love it.
Oh,
And,
you're being such a slut this month with these 10s. You're just handing them out.
I mean, we're doing the heavy hitters, man. We're really breaking out the classics this month. I mean, I can assure you, some of the other movies we got coming up are not going to be as highly rated. But yeah, we did two really, really great movies in a row.
I know everything that's coming up, and I can't think of one that you might not give a 10 to.
Okay. Well, it's good incentive for people to come back and listen.
Yeah, I'm not as high as a 10. I like it a lot. I think it deserves its iconic status. I think all these things. I like rules. But I wouldn't rate it that high. I think I'm more of an 8.5.
I think that's fair. I mean, I'm including a lot of like nostalgia, personal bias kind of stuff into it. For me, it's just something I hold really near and dear to my heart, and I really love. So it's on a technical level, maybe it's not a 10, but my enjoyment and personal feelings.
Yeah, I think, like I said, the ending's a bit iffy. And then I think the other, like, why don't I love it as much? Oh, but we forgot to mention that at one point she's watching Evil Dead on
Oh yeah.
on TV, which was a running thing between Sam Raimi and Wes Craven for a while. They keep putting references to those movies in their films, because there's a Hills Have Eyes poster in Evil Dead.
Poster. Yeah.
And then it went back and forth a little bit, but no, I think I guess the other, they're not negative per se, but just sort of why it doesn't rise up to a higher like score is, when I compare it to like the ones that I would give like a higher score, if I compare it to Halloween, right, example, which is my favorite horror movie, right, I think it is purely down to the style of the film rather than the plot or anything like that. It's purely just down to Halloween's very atmospheric and how it it's very slow and methodical, and it's all about the build up of suspense. And this does have some build up and does have some suspense, but it is a little bit, even in as serious as he is here compared to the rest of the movies, there's something just about the way that the dreams are shot that is just a little bit more kind of campy, I guess, than say something like Halloween, or even actually, do you know what I'd compare it to? Just to talk about dreams, I would say compare it to like, no, Inception. It's not a horror movie. Compare it to like a scene that David Lynch would do, because David Lynch does a lot of dreamlike stuff, and his dreams are always filled with dread. Like that gives you like this sense that we're doomed. Whereas this is still it's still fun. Like, this doesn't feel like it's not trying to like completely terrify you. It's trying to make you sort of jump and laugh and have a fun, scary time, which is good. I'm not complaining about that, but it's just one appeals to me more than the other. I like both, but so for me, 8.5 is where it
and I feel like everyone, when you're growing up or getting into horror movies or whatever, I kind of feel like everyone finds the franchise that speaks to them, that kind of becomes their own thing. And it doesn't mean that you can't like multiple franchise. Like, most people end up liking all of them to an extent. But like, yeah, for me personally, like Nightmare was my jam. That was the one that I was like,
yeah. Tim has said to me many a time his two favorite franchises are Nightmare on Elm Street and the Ernest series, if you're familiar with those.
Oh, we do have to do Ernest Scared Stupid at some point. That is a horror movie.
Oh, technically, yes, there's a Halloween one. Yes, that's true. That's true. What's your favorite Ernest movie, Tim?
Well, probably that one. Because of my penchant for horror.
I have to go with the Christmas one, actually.
Okay.
It's a really good Christmas. It's a really good Christmas. Yeah. I don't know if it's watchable now. Like the character might be too annoying to watch as an adult. I've not seen them since I was a kid.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I saw maybe 7 or 8 of them because I was like 12 or something like that, something ridiculous.
He's another guy that actually has a pretty interesting backstory. Like he actually started out as like doing local commercials. Like,
you mean the actor?
The actor, yeah.
Okay,
like,
I was just saying like the character. I was like, what? He's a child killer as well? What?
Well, no. He did the Ernest character like for a lot of different like public access commercials, and it's just a weird phenomenon that like not everyone in the country saw it or got it, but the people that were in his radius like loved him and kind of propelled them to this status. And so it's one of those weird things where like I can't imagine like is that even something that could happen today? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I think the difference is today it'd be YouTube, so it wouldn't be a radius. Okay. But I'd see YouTube characters maybe like turning into that thing. Okay. You know, what one day the Screams After Midnight movie about the heroic Scotsman who has to fight the evil goat-like Tim.
What the hell is a Scotsman?
Scotsman, not Scotsman. Oh. maybe I did say that. I'm tired. What do you want from me? So no, that has been Nightmare on Elm Street with a little dose of Ernest. At the end. So as I say, we will be doing the sequels over the next 9-10 months. So it syncs up with Freddy vs Jason for the Friday movies. So it'll be mostly monthly, but there'll be the odd one that we take a break on just so that it syncs up at the end. But yeah, I'm looking forward to working through these franchises. And because of the votes, two of the votes also gave us another 2 franchises to do in Phantasm and The Howling. So we have 4 franchises that we'll be working through over the next year. But we'll spread them out. There'll never be more than one of them a week.
It just sounds like we've like finally started to sell out. Like, goodbye independent small releases. We're all about the big boys now.
This is the beauty of our... When we switched to 2 a week, Tim, this was kind of the thinking, is we can do an old movie or a franchise movie, and we can do the new release or the little indie movie. We can, we've got flexibility with doing 2 a week, so we'll be fine.
Okay. All right.
That's the plan. So there you go. That is the Nightmare on Elm Street. So let us know what you think of the movie in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz. If you want to support the channel, support Screams After Midnight, and get some extras and stuff, and get to vote once a month. The voting for next month is a bunch of horror comedies.
Nice.
That is, you're eligible to vote in that until the end of the month. So if you want to get in just before the end and give your vote on that, and then there'll be a new vote next month for November and so on. Or no, so this is the November one. You know what I mean? December, the one that's after that.
If only we could think of a theme for December.
It's a tough one, Tim. I feel like we kind of choose to do the Christmas movies anyway, so I don't know if we could.
That's true.
If there's enough to then do a vote as well, unless we get like all those really crappy direct-to-video ones that we'd never heard of, and just say, here, pick one of these. But then, is that exciting to vote on? If you're a voter and you get these 4, they're all direct-to-video shitty ones. Like, is that exciting to like? Oh, I want to pick that one. I don't know if it is.
Well, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, let us know. If that sounds like a fun vote, then sure, yeah. we'll give you a Christmas vote.
Hashtag what rocks your boat. Your vote.
Do you know what? As much as we've had a few flubs, I feel like we've held it together pretty well, given our current state. So thank you for watching once again, guys. Keep watching scary movies. We will see you next time.